Since Xi Jinping took leadership in 2013, there has been a yearly anti-corruption campaign that has resulted in the demotion or removal of at least one official at or above the vice ministerial rank. But at the start of Xi's third term in 2023, the narrative took a turn. The demotion of high-profile officials Li Shangfu and Qin Gang represented a shift from the norm of demotions, with the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection (CCDI) playing less of a central role in the process. Experts suggest this shift prompted attention for a change in the rules of the game. The demotion cases of Foreign Minister Qin Gang and ex-Minister of Defense Li Shangfu were not only about corruption but were complicated by situations related to that political rebellion. The approach to handling these cases shifted from public spectacle to more discreet behind-the-scenes discussions. But these cases still remained a hot topic among the public. During his first two terms, Xi Jinping, quote, wielded the anti-corruption campaign like a broom, sweeping away not only corrupt practices but also using it to expose party officials' corrupt and incompetent behaviors. This campaign served as a tool for securing power and eliminating potential political rivals. By his third term, Xi was surrounded by his carefully selected followers. Any new cases of corruption within the government, especially those involving espionage, would reflect poorly on Xi himself. Consequently, the anti-corruption campaign became more secretive. This came with the party's principle that, quote, family shame should not be aired in public. For example, it was deemed preferable for the CCDI not to publicly investigate or expose the alleged corrupt and treasonous activities of the former foreign minister and the defense minister. It's reported that when Qin Gang disappeared, he was directly taken to the back door of a secret building without any signs at the front door. A similar situation occurred with Li Shangfu, suggesting the involvement of an invisible team acting on secret orders from Xi Jinping. Speculations suggest they are likely under the direction of Zhong Shaojun, an important figure in Xi's military circle who is leading the Central Military Commission office. Qin's situation also involved infighting between the Wolf Warrior faction and the pro-American faction. The Wolf Warriors is a group of people within the Chinese political or military establishment known for their aggressive and nationalistic stance on foreign policy. Qin, known for advocating peaceful development under the existing international order led by the United States, managed to alienate both Russia and the Wolf Warriors. When Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko visited China on June 25th last year, he directly informed Xi of Qin's alleged espionage, linking him to British spy Fu Xiaotian. Although Qin's relationship with Fu was confirmed, this evidence of espionage remains unproven. Qin's internationally well-known romantic entanglements forced Xi to remove him from his position. This led to, quote, jubilation among factions within the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese ambassador to the United States, Xie Feng, reportedly celebrated so vigorously that he broke his arm. The leader of the Wolf Warrior faction, Wang Yi, also found himself at a disadvantage during Xi's trip to South Africa in August last year. These events reportedly led to the humiliation of the party in the international media. Xi ordered Wang to conduct a thorough self-reflection. Despite these situations, Wang Yi was not severely punished and continued to be used in diplomatic situations due to his expertise. As we start 2024, China is dealing with an unprecedented economic downturn. The relationship with the US has stabilized somewhat. The current head of the CCP's international department, Liu Jianchao's trip to the US seemingly indicate China's concession and a halt to challenging the US-dominated global order. This shift is influenced by Qin Gang and Wang Hening, chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Therefore, Qin's case will probably be left hanging. Since Xi Jinping became leader in 2013, the White House has criticized any CCP efforts to attack Taiwan as harmful to East Asian stability and global order. urging the CCP to stop such actions. The CCP argues it cannot publicly renounce force against Taiwan, citing domestic challenges, but claims to respect the US-led international order. Yet at the San Francisco talks last November, Xi's firm position on Taiwan frustrated President Biden, who then called Xi a dictator. The Wolf Warrior faction, who are concerned about Qin Gang's potential survival and rumors of his demise, uses international media to stoke Xi Jinping's displeasure with Qin, aiming to ensure further measures against him. Therefore, Western media's coverage of the Qin Gang is viewed with doubt, as Xi likely wishes to keep Qin's matters out of the public eye. Simultaneously, other issues surrounding former Defense Minister Li Shangfu have come to light, revealing that many of his so-called achievements in military equipment development were fabricated. This discrepancy has led to concerns over the actual combat capability of the Chinese military, which does not match its public portrayal. Given Xi's high expectations for the military, optimistic reports have been favored to please superiors, but these reports fall apart during actual combat exercises. If Li Shangfu's case were widely exposed, it could have more severe implications than individual corruption. This can potentially undermine public trust and support for Xi Jinping's regime. The public's excitement over the rapid development of naval ships, once a source of national pride, could turn into a global joke if the reality of the military's capabilities were revealed. In response, Xi Jinping has adopted Wang Hening's strategy of, quote, acting with caution and patience, focusing on economic measures for unification with Taiwan. Xi has reportedly conceded to Wang that if peaceful unification can be achieved within 5 years, he would be willing to step down from his position as General Secretary. But considering the stance of Taiwan, the United States, and the arms dealers, Xi Jinping is acutely aware that peaceful unification is nearly impossible. Therefore, he plans to continue strengthening military capabilities and conducting military exercises over the next 5 years. Aside from Li Shangfu, Xi Jinping's traditional pre-Chinese New Year visits to political elders, seen as a, quote, safety pass in political circles, notably omitted former Defense Minister Wei Fenghe this year, sparking speculation about a potential purge. Official sources, however, remain silent on the matter. The tension between Wei Fenghe and Xi Jinping dates back to Wei's tenure as defense minister, with Xi being particularly wary of the then premier Li Keqiang's involvement in military affairs. A website post by the Defense Ministry discussing military construction with Li Keqiang was interpreted as Wei aligning with Li's stance. Therefore, Wei's purge is seen as a part of Xi's efforts to combat political rivals, which also encompasses corruption issues. Wei Fenghe, having the longest tenure in the rocket force and being a respected leader, his removal signifies a complete overhaul of the rocket force, quote, favoring hawks over doves and purging non-Xi factions. The handling of these purges by the discreet dismissal of political consultative conference members and National People's Congress deputies aims to avoid exposing internal conflicts and maintain a stable image of the regime. On the other hand, the corruption issue within the rocket force was supposed to be investigated by the Central Military Commission's Discipline Inspection Committee. However, because the head of this committee had close ties with the purged high-ranking officials of the rocket force, the investigative authority was transferred to Zhong Shaojun, a major confidant of Xi Jinping in the military. Zhong, who graduated from Zhejiang University, entered the central political stage with Xi Jinping in 2007 and was parachuted into the military commission in 2013, quickly rising through the ranks. He played a key role in gathering evidence of corruption against former generals and vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, Xu Zaihou and Guo Boxiong. Nowadays, high-ranking military officials are extremely wary of him. Unexpectedly, a former lecturer from the Chinese People's Public Security University revealed explosive information in an elite forum in November 2023. He said that in 2018, Xi Jinping established the Military Commission's Operations Bureau, specifically responsible for special missions. A large number of mysterious deaths among senior CCP officials were linked to this bureau. including the bizarre death of former Premier Li Keqiang and the delayed announcement of the death of the former head of the Central Security Bureau. And the head of this organization is none other than Zhong Shaojun. Despite Xi Jinping's efforts to cleanse the military of its old guard and instill a new leadership free from the influence of previous administrations, it is believed that it will take another decade to fully reshape the military leadership to fit his vision. The secretary system, traditionally serving the leaders, has now become a tool for monitoring them. In September last year, the current first-ranked secretary of the CCP Secretariat, Cai Qi, took over this part of the portfolio previously under Premier Li Chang and convened a national conference for party and government secretaries, thereby extending surveillance over numerous provincial-level officials. The Chinese Communist Party, historically known for its espionage governance, has taken its surveillance tactics to new heights. In 2023, it established the Central Social Work Department, tasked with overseeing aspects of social work beyond the reach of other agencies, potentially becoming a tool for future crackdowns. This department is led by Cai Qi, who is known for his hardline stance. The National Surveillance and Control Apparatus, managed by Wang Xiaohong, Minister of Public Security, Chen Yixin, head of the Ministry of State Security, Cai Qi, director of the Office of the General Secretary, and Zhong Shaojun now extends comprehensive espionage oversight directly to Xi Jinping. But this tightly controlled surveillance system faced criticism for its inadequate response to a shocking mass murder in Juxian, Shandong. The persons responsible is still at large. With 21 people killed and over 40 injured, the authorities' only response was to cut off internet access, enforce a lockdown, and ban reporting. On February 10th, the first day of the Lunar New Year, Juxian experienced its most severe murder case since 1949. The details of the case are varied and controversial, involving dismissed special police force officers and recently released youths, with the number of involved individuals ranging from one to several. Official reports, including those from Hong Kong media with ties to the government, have been deleted. Furthermore, the authorities' inability to apprehend the perpetrator or issue a warrant has led to a campaign to collect information on the populace. The Rizhao Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission quickly established a system for reporting potential social conflicts. The commission requires daily updates of the events, highlighting the seriousness of the situation. This system specifically targets 16 categories of individuals, including those involved in real estate disputes, medical disputes, labor issues, and those expressing dissatisfaction or showing signs of mental instability, among others. This indicates an escalation in surveillance and control measures. The online community has reacted strongly to the surveillance practices highlighted, with some pointing out that according to the criteria for monitoring, between 70% and 90% of the population would need to be reported. This has led to sarcastic suggestions that only police are considered normal and proposals to convert makeshift hospitals into psychiatric institutions. One netizen even sarcastically suggested that countries at war with China wouldn't need to drop bombs but simply airdrop rifles and ammunition. This implies that public dissatisfaction with the authorities has reached a breaking point. In addition, the armed mass shooting on the first day of the Lunar New Year in Juxian, Shandong was initiated by the Overseas Revolutionary Freedom Army. This organization, also known as the China Protect Taiwan Anti-Communist Restoration Army or Haipeng Restoration Army Revolutionary Freedom Army in occupied areas, actively claimed responsibility for the attack before and after the incident. They stated that after careful consideration, they chose Juxian as the site for their first attack. They targeted government officials and the operation team had successfully evacuated. The group views the Communist Party as the group that overthrew the Republic of China. They aim to break the myth of the CCP's strength and form a united front for the restoration of the country and the eradication of communism. Observers point out that this act's nature is distinct from crimes by released prisoners, politically persecuted victims, or those with personal motives. This difference has led authorities to avoid reporting it, concerned that broad exposure might encourage more individuals to support the organization. The Revolutionary Freedom Army summarized that the purpose of the Juxian Revolution was to physically eliminate the Communist Party's leadership, raise funds, and accumulate experience for an armed uprising. The organization praised the Juxian Revolution for its timely and accurate intelligence, detailed planning, effective pre-battle mobilization, swift and effective action, and orderly withdrawal. Commentators have likened this to the first shot of the 1911 Xinhai Revolution. The Revolutionary Freedom Army believes that Mainland is an occupied area and that restoration means restoring the Republic of China. Last November 11th, the group tweeted a recruitment call for special forces, commanders, and special agents from the occupied areas. These recruits were regardless of gender or age, with the condition of being brave in revolution, loyal to the eradication of communism, loyal to the Republic of China, and loyal to the revolution. Selected individuals were promised comprehensive support, including funding. On January 25th, the organization published a blueprint for the restoration of the country. They're planning to establish armed bases in 3,000 districts and counties nationwide. By forming armed revolutionary forces, they plan to gradually eliminate the so-called, quote, red occupiers and disrupt their ruling mechanisms and technologies. The red occupiers are used to describe individuals or groups representing or enforcing the influence and policies of the CCP. This can eventually lead to governance by a constitutional government with the involvement of, quote, free world forces. The silence of the CCP mouthpieces, coupled with internet blackouts and martial law in a small county town, suggests the coming of a revolution. If every province in China followed suit, it could quickly lead to provincial autonomy. Xi Jinping might then retreat to New area or flee overseas. The first to don a mask and hide during the COVID-19 outbreak shows Xi's tendency to avoid confrontation in difficult situations. Some believe that if Trump were to return as US president, Xi's pressure might be reduced. This can potentially lead to a ceasefire in Ukraine and the end of the Israel-Palestine conflict. But imposing a 60% tariff on Chinese products would almost completely decouple them from the CCP, which can intensify the internal struggles within the country. Facing these challenges, Xi might have to confront several tough choices. The situation could result in an outcome similar to that of former President of Romania, Nicolae Ceausescu. It's either to lift the party rules and remove the bans or to go overseas. Those who have supported the party's misdeeds may face consequences with their assets frozen by the West. The CCP's security chiefs, police heads, military secrets keepers, and inner circle are now in trouble. The CCP's narrative is a self-directed farce for the Chinese people. The real turning point lies not in external enemies or internal strife, but in the courage to write a new script that allows for freedom and respects human rights. Commentators suggest that China's current state is a result of its policies and actions, which have suppressed lawyers and activists. These collectively hinder a peaceful societal transformation. Under Xi's leadership, while consolidating power, the government faces deepening societal divides and growing public discontent. Facing a rapidly changing international and domestic environment, the situation appears to be reaching a new climax. The shift of the supervisory system underground and the cessation of high-profile anti-corruption efforts signal a critical juncture. Further anti-corruption measures risk undermining the CCP's position of power.